The room was dark and crowded. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Strange creatures from many planets stood around, talking loudly and pushing each other. In the middle of the room was a large metal cage. Inside it stood a young alien girl. Her skin was silver and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She looked tired and scared. Her name was Lyra. She had been a slave for many years. Taken from her home planet when she was just a child, sold many times, and treated badly by cruel masters. But now she was about to be sold again at this terrible place, a slave auction. The auctioneer shouted, "Starting bid. 500 credits. Who wants to start?" Hands rose in the air. Aliens shouted their bids. The price went higher and higher. Lyra stood silently, hoping no one would buy her. She did not want to live as a slave anymore. Suddenly, the crowd fell quiet. A new figure entered the room. He was tall and calm. His skin was pale and he wore simple clothes. This was rare. Humans did not often come to these places. They were both feared and respected. This man was Captain Ray Carter. His eyes scanned the room, then stopped on Lyra. For a moment, they looked into each other's eyes. There was no fear, no anger, just something unknown. The auctioneer looked surprised and said, "A human? Here? What do you want?" Captain Ray said quietly but clearly, "I want her." The room was shocked. "No one buys her. She is broken," said one alien loudly. But Ray did not care. He stepped forward and placed a large bag of credits on the table. "She is mine now." The auction ended quickly. The crowd began to whisper and stare as Ray unlocked Lyra's cage. He did not shout or order. He simply said, "Come with me." Lyra hesitated. She had never been treated like this before. No chains, no harsh words, no fear. Ray handed her a small blanket and said softly, "You are free now." She looked at him with confusion. Free? Humans? They are monsters, she thought. Why is he different? Ray did not explain. He walked to the door and waited for Lyra to follow. She did. As they left the auction room, Lyra's heart was full of questions. What did this human want? Why did he save her? Was this a new kind of prison? The stars outside the auction house shone brightly, but Lyra felt the cold of the unknown. For the first time, she hoped. The ship was quiet as Lyra stepped inside. The door closed softly behind her, cutting off the noise and chaos of the alien auction house. She looked around, her eyes wide with confusion. This was not what she expected. No cages, no chains, no guards watching her every move. The room was small but clean. Soft lights glowed from the walls, and a warm breeze brushed against her skin. On a table nearby, there were clothes, simple, but much better than the torn rags she had worn for years. There was food too, fresh and warm. She could hardly believe it. Ray Carter stood a few steps away, watching her quietly. He did not say much. Instead, he waited patiently, as if giving her time to understand. Lyra's mind raced. Why is he like this? Why is he kind? Humans are supposed to be cruel. They are supposed to be like the others, slavers, fighters, monsters. She wanted to ask, but her voice was caught in her throat. Fear and hope fought inside her. Slowly, she reached for the clothes and changed. The fabric felt strange on her silver skin, soft and smooth. She looked at herself in a small mirror hanging on the wall. For the first time in many years, she saw not a slave but a person. Ray walked over and placed a small device on the table. "This is your room," he said. "You can come and go as you want. You are free to stay or leave." Lyra stared at him, unable to believe what she heard. "Free," she whispered. The word was foreign and heavy. It had no place in her life until now. Outside the room, strange noises echoed from the ship's corridors. Aliens and humans moved about, busy with their tasks. Some looked at Lyra with surprise. "Why is the captain so kind?" one whispered to another. "Why does he care for a slave?" Lyra felt a flicker of something new, curiosity. She wanted to learn about this strange human and his world. Slowly, she stepped outside her room and walked through the ship. Everything was new and different. The walls were smooth and clean. The floors hummed softly under her feet. She saw people working together, humans and aliens, without fear or hate. It was a place of peace, not war. But even in this calm, a shadow lingered. Lyra noticed a locked door at the end of the hall. It was heavy and made of thick metal. From behind it, she heard soft voices, whispers filled with secrets. Her heart pounded. She wanted to know what was behind that door. Was it safe, or another prison? That night, Lyra lay awake on a soft bed. She thought of her old life. Fear, pain, chains, and this new life. Hope, kindness, freedom. She did not understand it yet, but something inside her was changing. She wanted to believe in this human, to trust him, to be free. But freedom was a strange gift, and sometimes it came with a price. Lyra's curiosity grew stronger every day. The locked door on the ship haunted her thoughts. What secrets did it hold? What was Captain Ray hiding? One quiet afternoon, when the ship was busy and the halls nearly empty, Lyra decided to find out. She crept down the corridor, her heart pounding in her chest. The metal door was cold to the touch. She looked around to make sure no one was watching. Carefully, she pressed a small button near the door, clicked softly but did not open. She tried again, harder this time, and finally the door slid open just a little. Inside was a small room filled with strange objects, screens showing distant stars, weapons resting on tables, and piles of data pads glowing softly. Pictures of planets, battles, and faces she did not recognize covered the walls. Lyra stepped inside, her eyes wide. She picked up a datapad and touched the screen. Words appeared in English, a language she had heard but never spoken. She tried to read, struggling with each word, but one sentence caught her attention. Captain Ray Carter, fighter for freedom. Enemies of the slave trade fear him. Her breath caught. This man who had saved her was a warrior? A hero? Suddenly, the door hissed shut behind her. Lyra spun around and saw Captain Ray standing there, arms crossed, watching her carefully. "You found my private room," he said quietly. "I wondered how long it would take." Lyra's heart raced. She expected anger, punishment, maybe chains. Instead, Ray's face was calm, almost kind. I wanted to understand," she stammered. "Who are you? Why did you save me?" Ray took a deep breath and sat down on a chair. "I fought to free slaves like you. I lost people I loved to those who sell others. I made it my mission to end the slave trade." He looked at her, eyes soft but strong. "You are not just another slave to me. You are a person, someone I want to protect." Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. Could she trust this human? The one who had changed her life in just a few days? She wanted to ask more, but her voice was small. "Why me? Why did you choose me?" Ray smiled gently. "Because when I saw you in that cage, I saw hope. Something worth fighting for." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ray leaned forward, his voice low but sure. "I want you to know the truth, Lyra. I don't want to control you. I want to give you freedom. But freedom is hard. It means facing fear. It means making choices." Lyra looked down, thinking about her past, years of pain and chains. Could she really be free? Ray stood and reached out a hand. "Come with me. I will show you a different way." Without hesitation, Lyra took his hand. The door opened, and together they walked back into the ship's bright corridor. Lyra's heart was full of questions, but also something new: trust. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time she felt like she was ready to face it. The stars outside the ship shone cold and distant as Ray began to tell his story. Lyra sat quietly, listening with wide eyes. His voice was steady but filled with pain. "I was not always a captain," he said softly. "I had a family once, a wife, a son. We lived in peace on a small planet." His hands clenched for a moment, then relaxed. "But the slave traders came. They took everything. My family was lost. I could not save them." Lyra felt a sharp pain in her chest. She had lost so much too, but she had never heard a human speak like this, like they cared deeply, like they felt loss and fear. Ray continued, "After that, I promised myself I would never let this happen to others. I trained. I fought. I freed hundreds of slaves from the hands of cruelty." He looked at her, eyes burning with quiet fire. "But you, Lyra, you are different. When I saw you, I felt something I had not felt in years. Hope. A chance for peace." Lyra swallowed hard. Could she believe him? This human, who fought for freedom, who saved her from chains. Could he be real? Ray stood and moved to the window, staring out at the endless space. The galaxy is full of danger. The slave traders are powerful. They have many soldiers and ships. They want to find me, to stop me. He turned back to Lyra. "I need you to be strong, not just for yourself, but for everyone who dreams of freedom." Lyra felt a weight on her shoulders, but also a strange strength. She looked at Ray and nodded slowly. "I will try," she said softly. Ray smiled, a small but warm smile. "That is all I ask." Days passed as the ship traveled through the dark stars. Lyra watched Ray as he planned their next moves. She saw how others respected him, how he led without cruelty or fear. But danger was close. One evening, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. Ray's calm face became serious. "Bounty hunters," he said grimly. "They found us." The ship shook as enemy ships surrounded them. Lyra's heart raced with fear and adrenaline. Ray moved quickly, giving orders and preparing defenses. Lyra wanted to help but felt unsure. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered and Ray was hit. He fell to the ground, pain in his eyes. Lyra's fear turned to fire. She rushed to him, supporting his weight. "No," she whispered. "You can't leave me." In that moment, something inside Lyra changed. She was no longer the scared slave girl. She was a fighter. She took control, helping the crew fight back. Her courage surprised everyone. As the battle raged on, Lyra and Ray fought side by side. In the darkness of space, a new bond grew, one of trust, hope, and something deeper. When the enemy ships finally fled, Ray looked at Lyra and smiled weakly. "You are free now," he said. "But freedom means fighting for what you believe in." Lyra nodded. She was ready. The silence after the battle was heavy. The ship rocked gently as it moved through the empty black space. But inside, tension filled every corner. Ray was hurt but alive. Lyra stayed by his side, feeling a fire burning inside her that she had never known before. She had changed. The scared, quiet girl in the cage was gone. Now she was strong. She was no longer just someone being saved. She was a fighter, a partner. But danger was not finished with them. A message came through the ship's communication system. Cold, clear, and deadly. "A bounty hunter will come for the slave you took," the voice warned. "We will take her back, and you will pay." Lyra's heart pounded. She looked at Ray. "We have to be ready," she said with new confidence. Ray nodded. "Yes, but this time you will not hide. You will stand with me." The next days passed in preparation. Lyra trained with the crew, learning to handle weapons and move through the ship with purpose. The others looked at her differently now. Not as a slave or prisoner, but as a comrade. One evening, as the stars glittered outside, Lyra stood on the ship's deck, looking out into space. The vast darkness seemed less frightening now. She had hope. She had strength. Then the warning sirens blared. Enemy ships appeared suddenly, fast and deadly. The bounty hunter had come. The ship shook under fire, and chaos exploded everywhere. Lyra's heart hammered in her chest, but she did not run. She moved forward, taking charge, helping crew members to safety. In the middle of the fight, a figure landed on the deck. Tall, masked, dangerous. The bounty hunter. Lyra's fear turned to anger. She faced the hunter, ready to fight. The battle was fierce. Lyra dodged, struck, and fought with everything she had. The hunter was strong, but Lyra was faster. She remembered all the pain she had felt, all the chains she had broken inside her mind. This was her fight, not just for survival but for freedom. Ray recovered enough to join the battle. Together, they pushed back the hunter. In the end, Lyra stood victorious, breathing hard but proud. The ship was safe for now. After the fight, Ray put his hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You are free," he said, voice steady. "But freedom is more than running away. It is standing your ground." Lyra looked up at him. Her eyes shone with something new: hope, courage, and a promise. She would not run. She would fight, and she would stay. The air inside the ship was tense but filled with determination. Lyra and Ray stood side by side, ready for the hardest mission yet. They had planned a raid on one of the largest slave markets in the galaxy, a place where hundreds of innocent beings were trapped and sold like goods. As the ship approached the market, Lyra felt her heart beat faster. The memories of her own chains burned in her mind. She knew what these people were facing, and she was ready to fight for their freedom. The market was a sprawling space station, glowing with neon lights and crowded with alien traders and buyers. Slaves were kept in cages, their eyes filled with fear and hopelessness. Ray turned to Lyra, his voice low but strong. "This is where it ends. We free them all." Lyra nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. She saw the faces of the slaves, many young, many broken. She knew she had to be their voice, their strength. As they entered the market, chaos exploded. Blasters fired, alarms screamed, and traders shouted orders. Lyra ran through the crowd, breaking locks and opening cages. One by one, the slaves looked at her with surprise and growing hope. She climbed onto a platform and shouted, "You are free! Fight with us! You are no longer slaves." Her voice was strong and clear. The slaves hesitated, then slowly, they rose. Chains broke, eyes brightened, hope spread like wildfire. Ray fought fiercely beside her, taking down guards and protecting the freed. But the market's leaders were powerful. They sent soldiers to stop the rebellion. Lyra found herself surrounded. She fought hard, but a sudden blow sent her to the ground. She was captured. Fear tried to creep back into her heart, but she pushed it away. She was no longer the girl who waited to be saved. With a sharp breath, she broke free from her captors. The slaves cheered, inspired by her courage. Ray returned just in time. Together, they defeated the remaining guards and destroyed the slave market's control center. The slaves were free, but the fight was not over. As the dust settled, Lyra looked at Ray with new fire in her eyes. "We can't stop now. There are more like them. More to free." Ray smiled, proud and hopeful. "Then we keep fighting. Together." In the silence after the battle, Lyra felt something she never had before: power. The power to choose her own path, to fight for justice, to stand as an equal. And beside her, the man who had freed her asked simply, "Will you stay with me? Not as a slave, but as my partner." Lyra smiled, her heart full. "Yes, I choose freedom. I choose us." The stars outside sparkled, lighting their new journey, one of love, freedom, and hope. The final battle was coming, and the tension on the ship was thick. Lyra and Ray knew this was the moment they had prepared for, the moment to end the cruel slave trade once and for all. The last stronghold of the slavers lay ahead, a massive fortress built on a forgotten planet, guarded by armies and heavy weapons. As they approached, Lyra looked out at the dark surface below. Her mind raced with memories, the years spent in chains, the fear, the pain. But now she was not alone. She had strength, courage, and Ray by her side. The ship landed on the rocky surface, and they stepped into the cold, harsh air. The fortress loomed above them, tall and menacing, but Lyra felt no fear. She was free. She was ready. Inside the fortress, alarms blared. Soldiers rushed to defend their masters, but Lyra and Ray moved like shadows. Quick, silent, unstoppable. They fought through corridors filled with danger, their weapons blazing and hearts burning with purpose. Lyra saw prisoners, some beaten, others broken in spirit. She stopped to free them, whispering words of hope. "You are not forgotten. You are free." As they reached the central chamber, The leader of the slavers stepped forward, a cruel alien with cold eyes and a cruel smile. "You think you can stop us?" he sneered. "You are weak." Ray stepped forward, steady and strong. "We are stronger than your hatred. We fight for those who have no voice." The battle was fierce. Ray and Lyra fought side by side, moving with trust and skill. Lyra's courage inspired others. Prisoners joined the fight, breaking their chains and standing tall for the first time. In the final moments, Lyra faced the slaver leader alone. She saw the fear in his eyes, the weakness behind his cruelty. With one last strike, she ended his reign. The fortress fell silent. Ray helped Lyra to her feet, and together they watched the sunrise over the planet. The dark days of slavery were over for now. Ray took Lyra's hand, his voice soft but sure. "Will you stay with me? Not as a slave, but as my wife, my equal." Lyra smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yes, I choose freedom. I choose love. I choose us." They stood together, looking out at the new day. Two souls freed, bound not by chains but by choice and trust. Their journey was only beginning. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, lighting a future filled with hope, courage, and love.